Hello, angels. Welcome back to the Feminine Files podcast. I'm your host, Anais. Welcome to season 2. Today we have a special guest, Kylie. She's a feminine energy coach who's passionate about helping women connect to their feminine energy and healing within and activating their dream girl energy. Hi, Kylie. Thank you so much for joining. Angels, it's been such a funny little story with us. We tried a couple times. But this energy that's going around.
Yeah, the Mercury retrograde.
Yes.
It's
So,
doing a number.
Kylie, tell us about yourself. How did you get started? I know me and you connected. I want to say it's been about a year that we started to follow each other, and I love your content. I really love how you
hmm
touch bases on healing within, because I think that is so incredibly important in activating our feminine energy. It's more than just looking pretty on the outside. It truly is what's within.
hmm
So tell us about yourself. How did you get started?
Yeah, no, I think feminine energy is literally mainly like
Mm,
healing your connection to your own body and understanding the
mm,
authentic way that your body wants to move through the world. But in terms of how I got started with like my whole brand, I think I always had an understanding that I wanted to
mhm,
have like a business that centered women and women's healing
mhm.
and the way that women just navigated the world. So I went to NYU and
That's
I'm
amazing.
very blessed to have gotten that opportunity. And there I
Mhm,
studied, I'm so grateful. And there I
mm,
studied a mixture of art therapy and business. So that like created the foundation for me to help women develop more dream girl energy and like hone their discernment when it comes to dating. Um, and I also throw in somatic
oh,
healing
wow.
in there, which is like a whole other world. But I think it's
Mm,
such a good medium for healing. And it
mm,
breaks my heart that it's not more mainstream because personally, it's been one of the best tools for my
mm.
own and feminine.
It's really powerful, and you don't hear that very often. Like most people that go to business school, and NYU is such an amazing school, so that's awesome. And
Right.
even you went for school for healing as well within, and I think it's something that a lot of people, like you said, really don't touch base on that. And I think it's so incredibly important. And I also, there's a misconception that if you are feminine, you can't have a business, which is so wrong. You can absolutely have a business and a six-figure business, be very successful entrepreneur, but also
Mhm.
be in your feminine energy. And I think that's what should be most women's inspiration instead of being in this state of always being an alpha and being like in that masculine energy. With your clients, what do you see are the most common struggles that you see with them or women today?
Yeah, so I tend to notice that a lot of women don't really understand that while
Mm-hmm.
we're equal to men, we are not the same. And I do think that's part of how like society wants us to like work hard and kind of be good employees for other businesses. And they don't want us to be like in tune with our authentic
Mm-hmm.
expression and the way our bodies want to move. So I do think it's kind of like a little deliberate with how the world is shifting. But yeah, but like men
Yeah,
are
they
like a
are.
whole different breed almost. Like from the way they're
Mm-hmm.
socialized, from the way that their hormones operate, like it's so much. And it's even the socialization,
Mm-hmm.
it starts at such a young age. And we don't understand how important the way that we're raised and the messaging that is given to us, how important that tends to play
Mm-hmm.
out in how we look at the
That's
world.
I love that you said men and women are not the same. And that's I'm going to say it again. It's we're not the same because a lot of women, especially today in this era, want to be like men or think they're equal, and it's we're different. We're designed for different purposes. We're not made to work like a man, hustle like a man. Men are built for that. They
Right.
are built to grind and just really, find solutions. If a man is struggling, he will find a way. Like that's just in their DNA. Like that is just
Hmm.
that is what a man is supposed to do. And with your clients, do you find a lot of the women are heavily in their masculine energy?
I do think so. I think the whole feminine energy movement,
Mhm.
I really appreciate that it's happening, honestly, because it's kind of showing people that they can be authentic to themselves and they can make
Mm.
space for their humanness. Because like even with like the whole demure,
Oh,
like I know
same.
that's a whole trend and I love it. I love trends. I think
Very
trends are so
cutesy,
fun.
very mindful.
But like very cutesy, very mindful.
Mhm.
And I love trends, but like I do think that trends speak to like
Mm.
what a lot of people are experiencing in their day-to-day lives. And I think we're feeling like we have to contort ourselves into this image of what it means
Mhm.
to be proper or what it means to be demure or what it means to be cutesy. And we're not holding space for our body to process what it needs to process. And that's when you start
Mm.
seeing people have like almost constipated energy, and it's because their whole life they were told that they just couldn't express themselves in the way that
Mhm.
was authentic.
I think a lot of people do struggle with being authentically themselves and not being able to express how they feel. And I think the most beautiful part of being in your feminine energy, once you really activate it, it's like so much easier to express how you feel, like you, or feel your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
or say how you feel. And some people may say, oh, that's so emotional, but feminine energy is your feelings, is how you feel. That is part of it. And I think as women,
Mm-hmm.
we should be more open and really not hide away from our true authentic selves and just express how we feel. And how can someone who is struggling, let's say, being able to express their emotions or heavily in this autopilot energy, what would be your advice to them on how to just be able to express how they feel in their emotions?
Yeah, so usually when I come
Mhm.
across someone who is in that like space, I am really transparent in saying that up until now, who you have been up until now has been a necessary expression. Like it didn't come from nowhere. You had to be who you are. You
Mm.
had to shut down your emotions in order to survive in how you thought you had to survive. Because I don't want people now bullying themselves into like feeling feelings to an excessive degree, because that very easily can traumatize someone and then put them in like their masculine energy in a really weirdly covert way, in that
Mhm.
they're forcing themselves to feel when they're
Yeah.
not. I think the first step is to be really accepting of where you are now,
Mm.
because your body is literally just trying to protect you. And with that being said, you can also take steps to a life that feels
Mhm.
just better overall. Because while your body is trying to
Mm.
protect you, it's not trying to keep you happy.
Mhm.
It's not trying to help you attract your dream man. It's
Mm.
not trying to help you achieve all your goals.
I was in that mode for a couple years, and I can say that when you're heavily in survival mode, the type of people you attract is not good. And you really are like, I was really struggling with
Mm,
expressing how I was feeling or just being in this autopilot survival mode because our bodies do that. And it was hard for me to be able to
right.
express or get out of that. But once I found the calling, or I like to say it was like a spiritual awakening for me. Um, that when I came across videos and just really understanding how to
Mm,
activate and really heal within, I can tell you right now, like it's changed my life completely. This woman I am, I've
mm,
never felt more confident, secure in myself, but it takes work. It takes commitment, and if you want, like, I know a lot of women
Mm.
who are listening to this, some of you are probably in that survival mode, and I know it's not easy being there, but you have to make that commitment to yourself to get out of it and do the work. Like Kylie said, really work with inside of you and being able to heal what's inside. If you're not healed within, you're not going to be able to activate the most magnetic version of yourself.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And I follow other creators as well, and they'll be like, even earlier, I saw one creator say two different women can go on a date with the same man,
Hmm.
and the man will treat both women differently. And usually it's because one
Hmm.
woman is in an entirely different expression to what will feel good to her body, or even she might be reactive, or she might subconsciously
Hmm.
think that like all men are horrible. And I do want to acknowledge that there are bad men in the world. However, like who are the men that you're
Yeah.
attracting? Like who are
Yeah.
the men in your
Yeah, that's so
bubble?
true. And that's the thing too. We've all heard it. Women say, when I hear a woman that says, all men are trash or all men are this, I can tell you that right there is your signal that you're in your wounded energy. Because someone who's actually healed, she knows, yeah, there are bad men in
Hmm.
this world. Yeah, but there's also really good men. There's wonderful men. There's beautiful men and men who are
Right.
very generous who want to do things for you and treat you like a princess. But what energy are you in? And I love that point that you made about two women can go on a date with a man and he won't treat them the same, which is so true. I've heard that. And that is really just telling you how, what energy you're operating in. And for you, Kylie, what is feminine energy?
So honestly, my definition of feminine energy has changed
Hmm.
like throughout my entire career as a coach. But what it is right now is your ability to embody a regulated nervous system, your creativity, and your receptivity. And those are like, that's the trifecta of feminine
I
energy.
love social media, and I made a post about it. If I remember correctly, there's a lot of creators that's very surface level based. And feminine energy, it's not about wearing pink
Mm,
bows, dresses. It's really a lot deeper. And when I first started, I thought that I was like, oh, it's
mhm.
exterior. No, it really is what's inside. Because when you're operating from your healthy feminine energy, you're really creative. That's so true that you said that
Yeah.
because when I first started, I thought it was completely something else. But then the more I get into this, the more books I read, the more research, I'm like, it's really what's inside. It has nothing to do what's exterior. Sure, there's certain things that can make you feminine, appear feminine, or activate it a little more easier.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. It can help.
And it can help.
Yeah.
Right. That makes me think of like Marilyn Monroe and how she
Yeah.
could like activate her magnetism. And it's literally what's inside. Like you can have the bombest outfit on, and if your energy is
Yes.
not there,
Hmm.
it's just not there. And once it is there, it will break necks. Like people they'll be in awe of you because you just move through the world with a different level of grace. And when I say grace, I mean the way that you embody like who you are is just so
Hmm.
comfortable that people
I love
admire
that
that.
story of Marilyn Monroe because it's so true. It's something that you turn, it's an energy you turn on, and confidence is everything. And people can tell by the way you walk, by the way you
Yeah.
talk, by the way you carry yourself, by the way you walk into a room, honestly, like people can tell if you're insecure or not. And men can really pick up on that very easily if a woman is truly confident or not. It's like you cannot
Oh my God.
fake it. It's like they know. They definitely know.
Yes.
And I think the most sexiest accessory you can wear is confidence. It's really your confidence.
I completely agree. And the reason why they're so good at picking these cues up is because men don't censor themselves or contort themselves in the same way that women have been told that they have to do it. they're more in touch with like the animalness of their body. And when you're not confident, you can think you're hiding it, but your body is constantly displaying cues as to how you're feeling. Maybe you're like hunched over. Maybe your voice is trembling. Maybe like your fists are clenched up. And these are all things that maybe on a conscious level we can't pick up, but at an unconscious level, someone can look at you and already make a quick assessment about where you're at
That's true.
energetically.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's the first time I've heard that men are like animals. Is that what you said?
They're more in
Yeah.
touch with their like animalness,
So
the
can
human
you elaborate a
animalness.
little bit
Yeah.
on that? On how are they more in tune to their animalness versus us?
Yeah. Women, the way we are told we have to operate for a long time, or at least in my understanding, was to be good so that a man can choose you. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that we couldn't have our own bank accounts, or like we couldn't own property, or we couldn't have our own homes under our name for a long time. So we literally had to learn how to be chosen by men in order to survive. But like men never had to fix themselves like that or morph themselves into something that another person would want to pick like that, because at that time they were the ones who had the liberty of doing the choosing. But now that the world has shifted, you see that the feminine energy movement is becoming
Mm.
like a little deeper than just how you look, because now women can be choosy. They can express
Mm.
themselves
I
in ways
love
that feel
that.
good to them.
Yeah, I love that. It's so interesting that it's
And
so cool that you
yeah.
said that because it's true. Back then, we had to like mold ourselves and it's like pick me. And then like now it's really shifted. Now you choose. And what energy are you in? And just as they
Mhm.
say, you don't chase, you attract. And what energy you in, but
Right.
also this is why it's important to know where are you operating from, because if you're wounded, you're going to be attracting more of those
Mm.
type of men that are in the wounded masculine. Because another thing too
Right.
is social media has made it seem that just because a man has money means he's high value. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It's really has
Mm.
made women want to chase the bigger bag, right? Or get the one that has the most money. But in reality, really ask yourself, what do you want? Because no one is perfect. And at some point, you're going to settle,
Right.
not settle for less, but you're going to be like, this is good. It's like just because a man has money does not make him high value. But I think most women want to have a marriage and that partner and that
Right.
best friend. And it has nothing to do with how much money he has. Yes, we do want him to be able to provide for you. Yeah, of course. But it has nothing to do with how much money he has. He has to be a multimillionaire. It has nothing to do with that, because a high value man is a man who respects you, who loves you, who provides for his family, and is
Mhm.
just a good man, because men want to feel wanted. They want to feel needed. And men
They
are a lot more
do.
sensitive that we give credit to. And they really are.
They
And when a
are. They're
man can open up to you emotionally and vulnerable, that is beautiful. I think that's beautiful because they're taught to not feel. So imagine walking around and not being able to feel anything, but it's
right.
like no, they feel. And I think when a man is able to do that, to me, that's a man who's very masculine, because it takes a lot for a man to be able to open to you in that way.
Hmm.
But you have to be in this energy of safety where he can actually open up, right?
Right. Because if you're not feeling safe around him, like
Mm-hmm.
you can't nurture that emotional intimacy that is required
Yeah.
for someone to be open and vulnerable. And honestly, I feel for men because the way they have to interact with each other, it's so cutthroat. They're always bullying each other. I'm like, I could not survive in that environment. Y'all are, and the way they are
Mhm.
not welcoming around feelings, they're just very
Yes.
critical of each other, is what I've noticed. And the way they view
Mhm.
women is, especially a feminine energy woman, is like
Yeah.
a breath of fresh air. Like I can just be
Mhm.
more sensitive now, or like I can just be more honest about
Mhm.
my
Also,
internal
their
landscape.
voice will change
So
if
yeah.
they're a presence of a woman who's, like, feminine and feel, like, protective of her
Mm.
and just that energy, their voice gets softer when they're around that person. Yeah,
Oh my
so a
God.
great
That
book
makes so much
that
sense,
really
honestly.
helped me understand the male and female line is Women Are From Venus, Men Are From Mars. It really helps you understand how men think versus women because we're not the same. And we're not, and I think once you
Mm,
grasp that,
no.
you'll understand more on how to communicate better and how they operate. And for a woman that wants to
Hmm.
activate her feminine energy, what are like some steps that she can take in order to activate?
Okay, yeah, I love that question. Well, people, in my understanding, tend to come in, they tend to have different levels to their own embodiment. For example, I've had people who, like, they look gorgeous. They're like stunning women, but they're so in their masculine energy because they just don't feel like they can relax around other people, or they don't feel like people want to actually support them. And at that point, I would walk them through like a somatic titration experience so that they can really process how anxiety inducing it can be to actually be vulnerable around
Mhm.
someone who wants to support you. And then there's other women who, they're like literally in ground zero. They've never tried to like
Mm.
take time to care for themselves. They don't have a routine that helps them feel more grounded, or a routine that helps them come back to themselves. And at that point, I'm like, okay, let's have some small little steps. Like maybe you start putting on mascara every day, or like a skirt, so that when you walk in the street, you feel more comfortable and you feel like you're that Marilyn Monroe who is attracting the attention of good masculine men who want to serve
I
you,
love that
you
you
know?
said putting mascara, even just that, and taking the time to just for yourself. I even for women that have kids, I'm sure that's really hard. I don't have kids yet, so I can't fully say, but I've seen
Yeah.
it. And I think just even setting just 10 minutes or 5 minutes just for you and just do a quick little makeup and just pamper yourself. Even if you work from home, just do your mascara, a little lip
Right.
gloss, a little something. Just and then I love that you said the skirt thing
And
because some women are not comfortable wearing
yeah.
skirts or dresses because they always wear pants. So,
And just try a new way of being. Like, let your body see that there's other embodiments of who you are that you can take. And I remember there's been like a couple of people and they've been like, feminine energy is such a performance. And I'm like,
mhm,
honestly, at the beginning, it might be a performance because you're trying to see if this new way
mhm,
that you want to operate through the world feels good to you. You want to see if being feminine or more feminine is actually something that
mm,
your body can get used to. But once you get the hang of it, and once you start saying, wow, like I attract other feminine energy women, and these women are emotionally available and they hold space for my authenticity and they hold space for my feelings. And the men who I attract are just really supportive and they hold this wonderful
mhm.
masculine container for me that's so nice to be in. And when I look in the
Yes.
mirror, oh my God, she's such a baddie. Once you start saying that, you're like, oh
Yes.
my God, yeah, why didn't I ever do this before? And that's the
Oh,
shift that
I
I
love
usually
hearing
see
that.
is
I
what takes
love
place.
hearing women who finally are feeling beautiful. And a big thing is how are you talking to yourself?
Right.
Like how are you talking to yourself? Are you speaking to yourself with love? Are
Mm,
you actually telling yourself that you are beautiful? I love playing like little
mhm.
affirmations from YouTube I'm sure you've seen them, the ones that's like feminine energy or whatever it is, like any areas you want. And it can be like a 10-minute. And I like playing those as I'm getting ready. Yeah, as I'm getting ready,
Yeah,
I
no, I've
just,
listened to those.
and then you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, oh my gosh, you're beautiful. Like, I am beautiful. And say your name too. Say your name.
And
Say, like, I
right.
am beautiful.
And there's so much beauty within all of us. And the thing is, we just can't see it when we're in like that space of all
Hmm.
the value I can bring is what I do. And when we're overly in our masculine, because we were just never given
Hmm.
the opportunity to do that. We've been in survival. We've been in survival mode. Like, it's just, it can be hard sometimes. Like, I fully acknowledge that. But like you said at the beginning, committing to, even if it's baby steps, to embodying a
Hmm.
version of you that just feels more good to be,
Hmm.
like
Yes,
that will make the
absolutely.
difference.
I think just really committing to yourself and knowing that the level up journey, there's no
Right.
limits. You're always going to be changing as a person. There's always going to be different seasons, but always commit to yourself to be the best version of yourself and always love yourself and always remember who you are because there's always going to be
Right.
someone prettier or taller, curvier, whatever it is. But at the end of the day,
There's
there's only
always going
one
to
of
be
you,
someone. Right.
and that is your power. And I think once you are confident
Mm.
within yourself, you stop comparing yourself. I think that's the key. I think a signal that you are confident is you don't compare yourself to other people. And if you do, you shift it back because we're human. We have good and bad days, but you remember who you are.
And competition is very like masculine if you think about it. Because, okay, maybe this is a bit explicit, but like
Hmm.
the sperm cells
Yeah.
are competing with each other to get to the egg cell.
Yeah, you really don't.
And you don't have to,
Yes, exactly. You're just that girl.
because you're
You're
just
that girl
that
that
girl.
gets everything she wants. Why wouldn't you? With dating, I think when you are
Mhm.
heavily, because we all have feminine and masculine energies, it's all about balance. I think when you are
Right.
with your clients, I'm sure you've seen if they're very in their masculine energy, they tend to attract more feminine men, more, or as they call them, betas, just
Yes.
more feminine men.
Okay, so I feel like in the way that, like, the whole process of going from pre-date to the first date, like everything before you even sit at the
Mhm.
table, maybe if you're at a restaurant with this guy, like that whole process tells you so much about whether or not
Mhm.
he's in his feminine or masculine energy, if you ask me. But in terms of like more broader red flags that I can just list, like, does his lifestyle appeal to you? Because a
Mhm.
man is always going to drag you to where he's at. And I don't know like why, but this is just how things always tend to unfold. Like, you cannot drag a man to where you're at. He's going to pull you to wherever he's at, whether that's better or whether that's worse. So really look at the lifestyle that he's living and evaluate whether that's something you would want for
That's
yourself as well.
that's really yeah, that's true. That's very true. I never thought of it like that, but that's true. That's very true because wherever he's at, he's going to drag you. And that's goes to the term of like when women waste so many years with someone. Yeah. That's another one. Have like a
Oh my
time limit
God.
too
Yes.
of like if this person is a yes or a no.
Also, if he says he's
Mhm.
going to do something and he doesn't do it, I think that's such a red flag because, in my experience, masculine men aren't going to sit here and talk about the
Yeah.
things that they're going to do. They kind of just do them. Like, their first impulse isn't, let me talk about what is going to be done, what has to be done. It's just by the time the thought is processed in like your head
Yeah.
as a woman, it's
That's true.
already being done
That's
on
very
his
true.
end.
They're very I feel like a healthy masculine men because there's some that are unhealthy. I feel like the ones that are healthy
Right.
and they're operating in that divine
Yes.
energy when they say they're going to do something or they're going to do it, it's really not going to be just games. And we all know what we're talking about when games, if you keep guessing yourself and stuff like that,
Oh my
there's
God.
that. Or like I've seen
Yes.
women too where there's a guy they really want, but they keep going back to him and back to him. It's like the circle and circle and circle. It's like you're wasting your time at that point. You have to know what you want and not waste time. That's like
No,
the thing
yeah.
too. But um I feel like healthy masculine men are just they just know what they want, and they're very straight to the point. And just as you should be too.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, when you are in your feminine
Mm-hmm.
energy, it makes
Yeah.
dating a lot easier because you're choosing. You're the prize. So, and then you start attracting better quality men. Of course, you're going to attract some that are not, but because you're operating in this state, you can pick them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, because as a gorgeous
Yeah.
feminine woman, you're going to attract
Mm-hmm.
everything. Everything's going to want access to you. You're just going to be choosy and you're going to discern what gets to have more proximity to you.
Yeah.
And that's like the
That's
beauty of
very
having
true. That's
options.
very true. And for a woman, let's say, because I know a lot of women have fast paced careers, maybe they're an entrepreneur, or maybe they work in corporate, or just like a fast paced job, and they have to operate in that masculine energy. What would be your advice to them before they go on a date with a guy so they can step into that softer feminine energy before they see the guy?
I, outside of like feeling gorgeous, outside of like taking time to just unwind from maybe like the work
Mm-hmm.
day, if it's on a Friday, I guess, I'd say focus on collecting data about who this guy is, because that's just going to make it so much more easy to not feel like you have to kind of sell yourself or market yourself so that
Mm-hmm.
he can almost pick you. Because I do think when you are in that trying to get a guy to like you energy, that is you embodying maybe too much masculine energy. And when you're focusing on collecting data on who he is, you're listening to what he's saying. You're getting curious. You're seeing if the points are adding up. And at that point, you're predominantly in the energy of,
Mm-hmm.
do I want him? Not, does he want me? And I think that's a really important shift that a lot of women need to learn how to take in order to attract masculine men, because, well, healthy masculine men, because a healthy masculine man is going to want to show
Mm-hmm.
you
He's
that
going to be
he's
planning that
just the
date
best
right then
option
and
for you.
there. So when can I see you again?
Right. Literally.
You're like, I didn't even get home yet.
You're like,
Yeah, can I please
can I
swallow my
swallow
food
this
and
bite
like
first?
finish my wine?
Like,
No, but it's so true. Like, also, you need to leave the date knowing more about him than him about you. If he knows more about you, you weren't mysterious. That's just a fact. Like you just weren't. You
no,
need to
yeah.
talk less and let him talk.
And it's good for you too, because what good does it do for this
Yeah.
man who you barely know to know your whole life
Yeah.
story? Like, it doesn't do any good.
Hmm.
You don't know this man. You don't know if he's a good man yet. He can seem like a good man, but you just met
Yes,
him.
and
So
also too with that,
collect data.
I'm sure you know this and you've already experienced this in your clients, but when you're really truly embodying what Kylie's saying, your feminine energy within your intuition, let me tell you, your intuition gets so
Mm,
good. Sometimes you're just like, whoa, your intuition gets stronger and you can really go back to that and listen to your intuition. Is this man a good man? And ask yourself, how do you feel when you're with
mhm.
him? Because a man needs to make you feel safe in order for you to operate in that feminine and you turn off your
Right.
brain. And let me emphasize, like when I say turn off your brain, it means that you feel so safe with this person that you're allowing him to lead you. And you can just be in La La Land and let him lead you. And let me tell you, that is the
Mhm.
best feeling there is. It feels so
It
incredibly
feels so
good to be
good.
with a man
Yes.
that makes you feel safe, where you can just let him lead and you're just like in La La Land.
And you just trust it's going to be a great
Exactly.
place where he's taking
Mhm.
you. You know it's going to unfold really well because he's just taking
Yeah.
your needs and your desires into account.
Always say thank you. Even if you're married or been together for
Yeah.
years, I think that goes such a long way. Just say please and thank you, just common etiquette, but really just tell him and tell your partner and just tell him, like, I appreciate everything you do for me. Make him feel appreciated because they want to feel appreciated because you do too. And it's not always just you. It's he needs to feel good too.
Hmm.
So if you treat him good, he treats you good. On social media, we
Yes.
see like if he's not buying you this and not that, it's like, honey, like just because he doesn't buy you certain things does not make him he's not a good person. It's like you also have to like yeah, it's like there's princess
No,
treatment is
literally.
so much more than just materialistic things. It has nothing to do with that. Is it nice? Sure, but it's not everything. It's how does he
Hmm.
treat you? Are you able to operate in that
No.
feminine, turn off your brain energy? Because let me tell you, if you haven't experienced that, it is the best feeling to be with someone that makes you feel so safe that you're just like, I'm just gonna chill. La la.
Right. La la. La la. You're just twirling your hair and your fingers,
Yeah,
looking
like
cute,
it's like,
enjoying
yeah,
the
you're
vibe.
just
Yeah, and I think it's such an empowering sign for a man as well
yeah.
if you genuinely feel safe with him. Like, not a lot of people can channel that, especially in like a masculine,
Mm,
well, a woman who's used to being in her masculine energy. And I do want to say that it does take you investing in yourself so that you can be
mm,
able to embody your feminine energy on your own first. Because I understand that the right man will help you feel safe. But if you're constantly in, again, survival mode, or if you're constantly feeling unsafe in your own body, it's just going to be really hard for a healthy man
mm,
to come and help you feel safe around him because he's not only is he battling the outside world to make sure you're protected, but now he's also battling
mhm.
your internal dialogue, the natural state of your nervous system. Like it's just you have to take the first step towards your dream life so that then you can attract the people who
Amen to
are
that
going to
because
fill
that
up
is
that
true.
dream life.
That is 100% true. Relationships really mirror everything about you. Like any insecurity you have, anything that needs to be healing, it really mirrors it back.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember where I read this or who said this. I know I saw it in a podcast or in a book. I can't remember, but they said, and it was like a relationship expert, and he said that your partner is not your therapist. And that is so true because they're not your
Right.
therapist. And you need to heal what's inside. And of course, if you need therapy, go for it. I'm a huge advocate for it. I think everybody needs it. Heal within, but your partner isn't
Mm-hmm.
your therapist. And you know what Kylie was saying, you really want to heal inside because if you don't, you're going to get triggered with certain things too, especially in relationships.
And I think in like all relationships, at some point, someone is going to trigger
Mhm.
you without meaning to do so. But when you are healed to a certain point, you can evaluate the situation and be like, okay, me and this person, we have a history of trust. We have a history of them doing their best to make sure I'm safe and supported and cared for. So at this point, now I have to self regulate. Now I have to make sure I can process my own feelings so that then we can come together and continue nurturing the relationship in a way that makes us both
Mm.
feel safe and supported moving forward. So we're not constantly triggering each other because also a trigger that is within you can be rubbed up accidentally by anyone without
Yeah,
them
that's
knowing.
very true. That's very, very true. And with the nervous system, um, what would be like an advice for you for someone who is on that journey of healing the nervous system? Because I think, like you said, it needs to be healed before you step into your feminine. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think when you're in your feminine,
Okay.
your nervous system is generally regulated. And the way I like to describe what this looks like is a majority of the time you feel relaxed in your body. Obviously, if there's a threat in the environment, obviously, if someone who's unsafe is around you, then you might go into fight or flight. Then you might have to shut down. But because your nervous system can come back to that point of relaxation, you know that you're not going to be stuck in fight, flight, or freeze even after the threat is gone.
Unfortunately, a lot of women have trauma too, and healing that part of them
Mhm.
before it's all about nervous system.
And honestly, what I notice is you can have
Mhm.
big capital T trauma, but you can have little t trauma. And that can look like sometimes your
Mhm.
mom didn't validate you when you really needed her to validate you. Or sometimes you made a mistake and no one reminded you that was okay and that mistakes are natural in the course of a lifetime. So people think trauma has to look like this really big, disastrous thing, but sometimes it just meant.
I find
Mhm.
that a lot of people go back to their childhood and healing that little girl within you. And also she's always within you. Like she's never
So
left. I
important.
think just
Mhm.
always remembering her and like thinking of her too because she's never left. But going back to if you're like Kylie said, your mom didn't make you feel good enough. Maybe you grew up thinking you weren't worthy enough. Well, this is your time to tell yourself, I am worthy. Why wouldn't you be worthy? Why wouldn't you be worthy of having everything you desire?
Right.
And it all goes back to
Right.
within yourself. Really is the key to getting everything you want and really activating the most magnetic feminine energy version of yourself. And if someone wants to heal within from their childhood, um, do you find like once one of your clients heals within, does it take them a long time to heal, or is it just you see a change within once you start the process?
Honestly, with like somatic healing, a lot of people, they'll like
Mhm.
have one really big trigger that is kind of impacting them. So, usually once you process like the emotional charge around that trigger, you start seeing a
Mm.
shift in your life pretty quickly. But obviously, the healing journey is not static. Like you are always going to have to heal in order
Mhm.
to become that next version of yourself. When I imagine like kind of having heavy energy and wanting to shift out of that into more
Mhm.
lighter energy that feels good to channel, it's usually one big thing that is preventing you from just moving through the world without self-policing to like an
I
excessive
love
level.
that. That's really, really good advice. And I see with people, they tend to see a shift within a week, I would say. Or even like you said, yeah, it's pretty quickly. But
Pretty
again, it's
quickly,
like
yeah.
it becomes a lifestyle for you. Just because you do it once doesn't mean it's like voila, done. No, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a practice. It's a practice. It's something you water. It becomes a lifestyle for you. If you fall off that, if you're not really nourishing yourself, saying your routine, right? Or like for me, routine is really important, especially my morning routine. I find if my morning isn't
Same.
good, it doesn't set the vibe for the day. So my morning routine is really important. I journal, meditate, gratitude. I say my affirmations. I do the work. And I
Mm-hmm.
notice the days I'm human. You're going to have days you don't do it, but I've noticed if I don't do it, let's say a
Of
week,
course.
something feels off. Something is off. And I'm like, wait, that something's kind of weird
Mm.
because I absolutely love my morning
Yeah.
routine. It's super important. So I think just setting that routine for yourself and having that commitment because it really is 10 minutes just for you to go within yourself and heal what's inside or even just practice gratitude.
I
Mm.
really like that you keep saying the word committing because that's what it is. It's committing to yourself. And
Mhm.
it's reminding yourself that you are a priority as well. And as much as all the things that everyone else is telling you that you need to
Mhm.
prioritize.
If you are not feeling your best, how do you expect the people in your life to get the best version of yourself?
Exactly. Have
Being more
any wins.
mindful of who has access to you. That's another one. That's like the journey I am in now, and limiting access to you because not everybody deserves access to you.
Yeah. And it can seem a little
Yeah,
harsh, but
that's
honestly,
true.
not everyone is good enough for
Yeah.
you. Like, I'm
It's so
sorry.
true because
It's just a
before, I
fact.
even started this, it was hard for me to like cut friendships and whatnot. Now it's like the easiest thing for me. It's like bye. It's like
Hmm.
I'm very just cut ties,
Hmm.
like nothing, because at the end of the day, it's like if I'm questioning your intentions or just friendships and just anything in general, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Also, too, to add with feminine energy too, it's like if you're around a lot of women who are very anti men, you're going to start grabbing a lot of those traits. And I can
Oh,
tell you from experience, I used to
yeah.
have friends that were very anti men or like just very negative. Now, looking back, a lot of them had wounded energies and just very alpha energies. And I remember like
Hmm.
I always felt like the odd one out. And then I remember I was starting to think, well, maybe I do want to be a boss babe and
Oh,
do this. And then I'm like, no, no, no. It's not. Now I'm like, no. But honestly, like, really look at your circle too. Who you hang out with? What are their values? Do they align with
yeah.
yours? Like, really start looking at that because in this journey and this glow up journey, you really start shedding a lot of things. Just like a snake sheds skin. That's what happens. You really start just really just shedding people, and the
Right.
right people will stay, or you attract the people that are meant to be in your life.
I agree completely. And I feel like I've had so many like shifts in
Mhm.
my life because I've also had to do so much healing in myself. Like, I'll never proclaim that I'm like the perfect person
Huh.
because I just don't believe one, it exists, and two, it's just not my goal personally. But in every stage of my life, I've attracted people who were a match for who I was. And I'm so grateful that I never gave up my healing journey because the
I
people
love
who
that.
I attract now, they're so kind to
Yeah.
me and they hold so much space for me.
If we didn't start our journey, really had that spiritual awakening, because I do feel like it is, because you want to grow into this person, we have never would have connected and we wouldn't be sitting here collaborating. And I
Inviting
love
me.
that you speak so much about what's within, because it truly is the key to everything, especially becoming the most magnetic version of yourself. And with that, thank
Hmm.
you so much for being here, Kylie. I truly appreciate it. I've learned so much. I know our angels have learned so much, and I appreciate you for joining on. How can our angels reach you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I am at Inner Noor on all my platforms. And I do have like a play shop that pretty much goes over how your nervous system tends to process stress. And I think that's just a great place to start, especially if you're like a woman who's really new to like feminine energy and you're wanting to embody that more. But yeah, thank you.
Yes.
So
Thank you
excited to
so
have
much,
been here
angels,
too.
for coming and listening. Sending you all love and light. Have an amazing day.